BSN, good morning, everyone. Today is a very special moment for all of us because it's our 50th Good Morning BSN. We started in May 23rd in 2023, and here we are more than a year later on September 17th, 24. I don't need to explain all of you what Good Morning BSN is, but it is for us a day that we can really express the gratitude to you, that you are our fan club and that you're always there, and that a lot of you always are here every Tuesday, some of you. And many of you have presented, many of you have been a reflector. And that is something we are really proud of, because it's nice that within our network, we can give back to the school by showing people what we've learned, what we've created in insights that can make us all better leaders every day again. And most of you know that the Good Morning BSN is an initiative of our Impact Center for Great Leadership. The Center of Excellence, where we share the insights of all of us, what we have learned, and maybe some management tools which we have created. And Mark van Rij from Jint Solar and Oki Okere from the Culture Factor are the driving powers behind the Impact Center, because they convince their organizations to sponsor us to make this happen. And from here we go forward with a program manager. So we decided we have now 50 sessions on our belt. It's time to have a program manager for the Impact Center. That obviously cost a little bit more than the sponsorship which Mark and Oki has given us. So if there's any one of you who can convince his or her organization or wants to sponsor us, drop us a line, because then we can actually recruit this program manager. But for now, let's celebrate a little bit what we have done over the last 50 Good Morning BSN sessions.
Raise the volume.
The average screen and knowledge worker is wasting about 240 hours annually on average on looking for stuff that they knew they had.
Reflecting in safe spaces around leadership vulnerabilities, and action learning is a great way for that, I think, of exploring a topic from leadership and reflection.
Let's try and see how we can help ourselves so that we can become as effective as we can in terms of how we engage upwards, and also how we support people that are below us. I like to call them performance partners, so to speak.
And it will open up to you and share a deeper layer of your personal view on things, because it feels more safe. So support is another technique that creates a safe and strong connection in the subconscious brain.
So that's it. I think it was a lovely review on our Good Morning BSN sessions. Over to you, Twan.
Thank you, Annette. My name is Van der Heuvel. I'm the Dean of BSN, and I'm happy to speak to you today on this festive occasion where we celebrate our 50th Good Morning BSN. Of course, many of you joined in on our previous sessions, and you will have noticed that we're always talking about these 4 pillars. In particular, choosing one pillar that is the central topic of that session, and then moving on to the next pillar and so on. There's a reason for us to do this, and the reason is not that you can separate those pillars, but the reason is that we have to define leadership in some manner. We at BSN believe that the 4 pillars of great leadership are the cornerstone of any successful organization, community, or nation. Effective leadership is crucial to delivering the results that you want to deliver as an organization. But it does not come from a single characteristic, but from a combination of qualities and competencies that enable leaders to inspire, guide, and influence others. 4 critical pillars are on top of mind when you talk about BSN. The first one being change leadership. Then we're talking about decision-making leadership, performance leadership, and responsible leadership. To talk about the first one, so change leadership, we're talking about organizations and communities that have to move constantly. To not fall back into your market or to go ahead with what you want to achieve, it's essential that you constantly evolve. You have to survive, you have to thrive, whether driven by technology advances, market shifts, or global crises. You have to be able to engage your shareholders, so your stakeholders in the change process, and build a sense of ownership and collaboration, helping to mitigate resistance and ensure a smooth transition. So the first pillar that we are talking about is change, and perhaps you can talk about this later on. Moving on to the second pillar, that's decision-making leadership. You can't stay away as a leader from making difficult decisions or blame others when things go wrong. So we have to learn how to create decisions that are more wise the next time you make one, to adjust the course of an organization or community when it's necessary to do so, and to remain transparent with your team. So a leader, in our opinion, has to be able to gather information, make a good analysis, and then base a decision upon those things, and to create, let's say, a goal for that organization to be able to achieve more than you did yesterday. That leads us into the third pillar, performance leadership. Ultimately, this is about delivering results, creating a performance, the ability to inspire, motivate, and guide teams, achieving higher levels of productivity and higher levels of success. So basically what you do when you come into your working place in the morning and you sit down, and you start your activities, you want to do something in that day, creating a result from doing those activities. So basically the inputs that you got to start off your activities must be filled in by that what you are doing to create a bigger result than when you came in. So it's actually intended to, let's say, ensure that your teams, yourself, continue to grow and deliver strong results over time. And the last one, the fourth pillar, is responsible leadership. So we live in this world with increasingly complex challenges. The world is getting more open. We go in contact with each other more often than we were like 20 years ago. There's things happening in the world, for instance, climate change or social inequality. And it's the intention for a good leader to be able to get on top of those things. So whatever you're doing, have in mind that it has to contribute to something else than only your own organization, because you are connected to the rest of the world. Meaning that you should navigate through decisions, change, performances that don't lead to inequality, our social integrity. Accountability is one thing, and you are accountable for improving the world. You do so in the areas of, for instance, environment, social skills, sociability, governance, in all kinds of ways you look at this world and try to create something better than it is today again. Like told, you can address those pillars separately, but they all come together. So if we talk about leadership within BSN, It's a matter of constantly improving on those 4 pillars to be able to balance those pillars and to make sure that one doesn't prevail over the other one, and then proceed with doing a better job each day. Of course, we are open on this happy 50th anniversary of Good Morning BSN for questions and answers. So the intention is that we are going to make this an interactive session, and we would love people to put their questions and answers into the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen, or in the chat room where you can ask your questions or leave your comments. As I just invited you to ask your questions, I suppose people need some time to get into the game. But before answering the first question, I would like to ask Lyra, okay, can you elaborate on your own experiences dealing with these 4 pillars of leadership that you came across in your life, and perhaps teach us something on how to cope with them?
Thank you, Tuan. It's been some lessons and a great opportunity to speak on this platform. In my career, I've realized as a student of leadership that one has to find ways to provide solutions to the challenges of the time in the work that one is doing. And therefore, at every stage in my own journey, I've realized that what is most important is delivery, showing responsibility for those key activities that have been listed under one's job description. Ability to be able to be open-minded, to pose what we call the action learning questions, and to be able to find answers to it through a process of reflection. I've also found that the other aspect of leadership, which is learning to lead change, not just to manage change, but to lead change. Managing change most times is reactive, but leading change is proactive. And in the course of my journey on as a student of leadership, I've realized that when one is proactive, one is likely to succeed more. And this helps to build trust. It helps to recognize contribution in other people as well, and the ability to provide space for other people to make a difference. And it also helps in terms of inspiration. In terms of ethical decision-making, leadership itself will not be credible unless you are taking decisions that are seen to be based on merit, unless you take decisions that are seen to be ethical, and that you understand and promote the core value of the organization. And there must be alignment between your own core value and the core value of the organization, of course. And where there's conflict, it should move with the higher core value. Finally, whatever you do in leadership, the bottom line is performance. The result that you give, the initiative that you lead, the changes you make, and once you achieve the agreed target, or you take corrective action when things are not going the right way, you'll be seen as being impactful. And finally, when I say the 4 pillars that the business school Nederlander had been promoting for the last 49 episodes to today, is about making impact. Making impact, which is spelled as IMPACT, means that every leader must inspire. Every leader must do something that makes meaning. Every leader must perform leadership with passion. Every leader must take action that generates results. Every leader must demonstrate character, ethics, and every leader, day by day, must learn to transform. Thank you, Turan, for the opportunity once again. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are still open for questions. Just put them into the chat room or put them into the Q&A box. Juanita, can you share some, let's say, experiences with us that are connected to the 4 pillars, how it went wrong or how it went right, whatever you want to talk about?
Hi, Tuan. Thanks so much. What's interesting for me is how leadership itself is a process of continual change. So the pillar for me, change, is a very important one because it's continual change. If I think back, years gone by, we never had to concentrate or focus or think about responsible leadership. All we were doing was to try and drive profit, get the bottom line right, and give our shareholders meet their demands. Now it's totally changed. What is interesting, though, in the growth of leadership is that in my career, I've had the fortune, or call it misfortune, until BSN, of having a couple of leaders who very nicely taught me what leadership was not. And that's given me quite an insight. I grew organically in leadership because every time I experienced something and something was done, whether it was results, whether it was change, whether it was decision-making, you could see what was wrong. And that taught you what you should not do. So when Leary talks about inspiring people and motivating people, I had leaders who did not do that. They went the other direction, maybe far too autocratic, maybe not sufficiently democratic. So in my experience, leadership is just in continual change. And in the next 10 years, there may be another 2 pillars added because something happens in the world. But for me, leadership is just, the whole subject of leadership is continually, the pillar of change, I think, for me, is the most important one because leadership just keeps changing. And if you cannot change with it, as a leader, you won't survive. That's my insights on leadership.
Great words, Gunita. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Of course, you will recall that I am a teacher in operations management. So I'm kind of directed in the direction of performance leadership, setting goals and then managing your processes in a way that you excel. Execution of performance is then a big thing. But what I learned over time is that decision-making is a big part of that. So when you think with a group of people about setting your goals for the next 3 years or something like that, then you always tend to set goals that are kind of steep. And then the big question is, and then we're moving over from performance leadership to decision-making leadership, they will always recall that, okay, there's a pace in which an organization can change. You can't do it all tomorrow, or you can't do it all in the next couple of months. So you have to pace your steps towards that bigger goal that you want to achieve in, let's say, 3 years' time, to enable people to adjust to the goal you've set and to enable people to move with you to reach those goals. It's an easy mistake to make when you start changing stuff over too fast. It doesn't help the organization, it doesn't help you to reach your goals that you've set, but it does help that you like show the people an horizon of where to go, to a direction, a course, so to say. That's the things you want to achieve over time, and then to pace your steps by creating sub goals, goals that are to be achieved on the short term, and then to move over to the next one. So that's that includes change, and that's also my calendar for that change, the pillar that we've got in those great leaderships, 4 pillars. In the meantime, I see, before I move over to Annette, I see that there are questions coming in. So we have a question. No, the question, Felix, is just complimenting us on our sessions over the last 50 weeks. And Edem is asking us, good morning, can you suggest a way that a new leader can balance these 4 pillars of leadership in their endeavors? Is there somebody, Lyra, Annette, or Gunita, who wants to answer that?
Thank you. While leadership is about performance, it's about results, it has to be done in an ethical way. And that's why you cannot remove one from the other. Even though we are talking about 4 pillars, they are all they are mutually dependent on each other. And what that means is there is overlap between one and the other. So you cannot show results in transforming the organization that you work for without taking ethical decisions. You cannot be a performer without having a sense of responsibility to make things happen. So responsible leadership is also key. And it is important for us to understand that all of them are dependent on each other. So responsible leadership, ability to lead change, ability to take the right ethical decision, and to focus on making impact. All these are critical. So when you talk about balancing, it's as if, should I take a little bit of this? No. All of them have to be taken into consideration at every material moment in your journey of leadership. And remember that leadership is not a destination. It's a journey. You can hear Juanita has spoken about the fact that in her journey on leadership, she learned from mistakes of other people or what she saw as leadership gaps in other people. So if we are mismanaged, you can also learn how not to manage other people. That's what you say. And so essentially, the four leaderships are interwoven. So it's not something that is separated by a solid line. Thank you.
Thank you, Leroy. What jumps into mind is that in the 60s, we had that business balance scorecard. Most of you will know that. And that jumps into my mind when talking about balancing those four pillars. So forget about the 60s, but go to 2024. Look at these pillars of leadership and try to balance those into your management skills. In the meantime, there are a lot of questions coming in through the Q&As. Vincent is the first one asking a question, and he's asking, does the inability to transform an organization mean someone has failed in a leadership role? Perhaps Annette, you can say something on that. You're on mute.
I'm muted, yeah.
Yes, I think it's a very good question, Vincent. And sometimes you see that CEOs are actually are stepping down when they made a mistake. And often that mistake is not changing the organization around in the way to keep up with the consumers or to keep up with the time. So that's not for nothing that a leader has to be able to inspire people to change. That said, there's also responsibility on the people inside the organization. And you can't just say as a team or as employees of an organization, okay, I know he's the leader, but I'm not going to follow him. And there's no way I'm able to make the step towards whatever transition there needs to be. So we all have a responsibility in moving organizations forward in a structured manner. But at the end of the day, and this is why we need to learn all these leadership traits, it is up to the leader to take a group on board to transition. And in my life, I've always followed, I thought they were very simple, the 3 stages of Lewin. I don't know if you know him, but he's a management guru, and he simply says, if you want to transition an organization, you first have to unfreeze the organization. And then you change the organization, and then you refreeze.
Yeah.
That's very simple. Unfreeze, change, refreeze. And with unfreeze, he means that you need to make people feel comfortable with the fact that there needs to be a change. That's not only about creating an urgency, but it's also making people comfortable, to take away the resistance, to talk to people, to understand what is it that they need, to be kind to people who are afraid of the change. And once you have everyone molded towards the acceptance of change, you make the change. And then the most important thing is you celebrate the change. You refreeze and you say to everyone, look how different we are from the beginning to where we are now. And let's celebrate this new step to the future. And this idea of unfreeze, change, and refreeze is a model which I always keep in mind when the change is needed.
Thank you, Annette. Still a couple of questions to go. Omolola states, the issue of leadership has led some leaders into depression while trying to practice what they preach. due to economic, psychology, and general change in lifestyle, this can happen. My question is, how can a leader balance the equation when facing challenges in their way, as well as in any aspects, with the career, etc., etc.? Don't know if I read that out correctly, but did you understand Amola's question? And can you try and answer this one? So basically the question, how can a leader balance the equation when facing challenges on their way, as well as in any aspect?
I can imagine if you are a leader, you feel the pressure on your shoulder to make the best for your organization and for the people who work in it. And sometimes you forget about yourself, so you are stressed out more and more and more. I think there are a few things which you can do. One is a very simple thing, is just be kind. The power of kindness is extremely great. If you are kind as a leader, you will receive kindness back. And that will help you not to stress out so much, because you have a good feeling when you walk in your organization, you meet your people, because the atmosphere is good. It's a nice place to be. That helps. And the other thing what helps is to show your vulnerability and sometimes say, oh, I'm not sure how this works, or I need support, or can you help me, or seek maybe some coaching. But there's also a lot of support which you can receive from your own organization. And if you dare to ask that, then you also release the burden onto yourself. We cannot carry a whole organization on one pair of shoulders. That's simply impossible, and everyone understands it. But to dare showing that and seek some other shoulders within your organization to rely on, I think that is a good trick which can make you feel better.
Thank you so much, Annette. The next question from an anonymous participant, but I'm going to read it out anyway, because it's a great question and it connects to the previous content. The question is, my question is, if organizations hire managers and not leaders, and the KPI of managers is to perform, show results, and manage resources to become profitable. The big question is, are managers expected to lead or to manage? This is a difficult mix. Leora, perhaps you?
Thank you, Trent. In the 60s, let me say over 100 years ago, leaders were perceived to be born, and they are not believed to be made. Today, leaders can be made through training, through learning and development. And so the old concept of leadership is giving way to the new concept of leadership. And so the 4 pillars are demonstrated now that leadership are also responsible for performance. So the modern leadership embraces the tools that we have learned in basic management science. So, and in the modern management also includes leadership. So a balance of these old concepts are required. And so you find that balance in the great leadership pillars of Business School Netherlands, which we are promoting. And so you find the kindness that Annette spoke about. You find, because you are supposed to inspire, you find the result orientation in performance leadership. You're supposed to remain humble in leadership. So it's a combination of you taking a decision, but at the same time doing it in a very nice way that carries those people along. So you have to connect with them on the inside. So modern leadership embraces management. And so it's a responsibility and it's a desire in Business School Netherlands to actually emphasize leadership, particularly based on the model that we are selling or the model that we are promoting globally, which includes performance leadership, leading change, as well as ethical decision-making and responsible leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically there isn't too much of a difference in between a manager and a leader. Both roles should be combined, and that's what we are saying. Next question from Solomon. Performance leadership is quite important and needed. My question is, how will a leader avoid degenerating into performance and operations mode, neglecting strategy and change? Quite tough questions, but we're going to give it a go. My first answer would be that you can't run operations without having a clear target or a clear strategy. So it's always the case that you have to adjust everything that you do in daily life towards the goals that you're trying to achieve. That means that if you want to deliver a performance, delivering on those results that your goal set is what you are trying to accomplish. And the main task is to direct everything in the organization, so to adapt your structure, to adapt your processes, to adapt the knowledge base in your organization, to adapt the people, all towards that same goal. And if people have that same mindset, so they believe that the goal is required to reach, probably driven by some pressure from the outside that makes you want to change, makes you need to change. And the mindset of all the people in the organization is set with a view to reach the same goals, and you align all the buttons that you can turn in an organization towards that goal, then it's going to be effective, at least if you get the people to be aligned in that manner. So basically, it's not about degenerating stuff. It's not about degenerating the organization to reach a performance. It's how to motivate an organization to be able to go as a team in the same direction, reaching goals faster and easily, and more easily than you do when you start pushing on KPIs, although those are important. Somebody else would like to say something about this question because it's kind of critical. Then I go to the next question. Oloyeme. It's not usual that as a leader, several options can feel good when alternatives are being considered to innovate. How do you avoid second guessing yourself when making a decision?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful question because we all are thinking maybe on a daily basis, did I do the right thing for small things and for big things? So that I think is only human, so you can never avoid it. The other point is, what should you do when you get into a situation like that? Instead of avoiding it, you should obviously prevent it. And one of the biggest opportunities to prevent this sort of things is to do reasonable reality check before you make a change or before you make a decision. And sometimes people forget that. But you need to take stock. What is the reality here? How far can I go? What can I reach? What are the obstacles which I will face? Because if you forgot to look at those, then a lot of opportunities may be out there which are better than you have started. So to really sit and think the decision-making, leadership, and to take time to talk to other people helps. That said, if you made a mistake, it's better to admit it and to move forward in a different direction. Not suddenly and not without explaining people why you are changing tech, but you should never move forward if you really believe that it is the wrong way.
And if I can add on to that, I think also we as leaders need to realize there are a lot of tools around that can actually assist us with these kind of things. So if you look at decision making, there's the decision tree. So if you're not confident in the decisions that you're making, take the time to use the tools until you get to a position where you feel more comfortable in taking those decisions. Let the tools help you.
Thank you, Gurvanita. Good addition. We are approaching 10:08, but I have got a last question that we can probably answer. It's again from an anonymous participant, but still a good question again. Why do managers and CEOs struggle to effectively integrate ESGs and the digital transformation into their operations? What makes it so challenging to manage in the gray area between traditional business practices and these evolving demands? And how can leaders navigate this complexity? Beautiful question. Because it appears to be difficult. So basically, especially the digital transformation has got a lot of opponents to start with. People are not understanding what is happening. People are not into technology as some other people are. So they are a bit afraid of entering that field where they, at the same time, have the fear of being out of knowledge, not being able to perform anymore as they were used to in the past. So the biggest step, I think, is to at least inform those people to get it clear that these technologies are here to help. That it enables the organization in total to move over to the next phase without lacking to grasp the future. So basically what you need to do is to truly put into people's minds that they should embrace this sort of changes instead of trying to fight against it. It's a fight they won't win, that's one thing, but it's also counterproductive if you try to do so. So the first step in introducing something new like AI into your organization is that you talk to your people, train your people, make them knowledgeable about what's happening, try to take away the fear that something is going to happen that they can't cope with, teach them on how to use those technologies on a practical level, and ensure people that it's not only the future, but the future is in their hands and they can cope with those, let's say, instruments in their daily life, making their jobs easy, and that they can focus on, let's say, the good part of the jobs, because technology so far has only taken over that what you're doing more often, so repetitive activities and that sort of stuff. So the way to go, I think, is to explain from the start what you're trying to achieve, how it is possible, and why it is necessary. So that would be my first step into this process. Anything to add from the others?
Yeah, I like to very quickly, because we're running out of time, share with you the model of McKinsey on the 3 horizons. One horizon is your core business, the second horizon is your emerging business, and the third horizon is new business for in the future. And what normally happens, most organizations have 90% of their people working on the first horizon, the core business. So there's only 10% left for emerging and new business. And that's why a lot of changes, and especially when ESG and digital transformation comes in, that is new emerging. So there's simply not enough resources to manage that. And a good leader operates on all of these horizons, core business, emerging, new business, with the necessary resources.
Thank you so much. That brings us close to the end of this session. A fantastic session for us, being BSN. Thank you all for participating. What you probably don't realize is that putting a Good Morning BSN session in front of you every week takes something out of the organization. People have to work with us. We have marketing people, operational people, people planning, presentators and reflectors. Of course, there's the 3 people that you see on your screen. Annette, Juanita, and Lera, who work hard to get this done every week. A big thanks to them, but also to the marketing team behind them, the sales team, everybody who is involved in making this show the success of what it is today. Hopefully, we see you all next week again. Then we have a more traditional session. For now, thanks for participating. Thank you for all the compliments that are coming into our chat room. Thank you for all the questions, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much.